Greetings, Father Joe here, your friendly neighborhood pastor, coming to you from St. Patrick's Church in lovely Highland Mills, New York. Today is the feast of St. Monica, and we have a really beautiful reading. Our first reading from St. Paul's first letter to the Thessalonians. In chapter 4, St. Paul begins to exhort the Thessalonians and give them some instructions. I like this on the Feast of St. Monica because Monica loved her husband, and through her love of her husband actually brought him to Jesus and saved him. And in our first reading, St. Paul says, "This is the will of God, your holiness." And then he says that you refrain from immorality. God calls us to holiness, which is doing something positive. That you refrain from immorality, that is a negative. So sinning or anything immoral, that's going to stop us from growing in holiness. But I do love this quote. This is from Blessed Charles of Austria. He was the last emperor of Austria-Hungary. And his feast day isn't his baptism or his death day. His feast day is the day of his wedding. Servant of God is his wife Zita, who was the empress. Before their marriage, this is on the night before his marriage, he says to his wife, "Now let us help each other get to heaven." Isn't that wonderful? The role of a husband and wife is to help the other to be a saint. Sometimes I think we get this wrong. We say, boy, my job is to, remain with this emotional love. And Charles and Zita worked on their relationship. They fanned the flames of their love. They stayed connected when they didn't feel like it. They had 8 kids, so I'm guessing they also had a lot of sexual love. So St. Paul says in our reading today, he says, "This is the will of God, your holiness, that you refrain from immorality, that each of you know how to acquire a wife for himself." So this is going to be good insights for us on the basis of marriage. How to acquire a wife for himself in holiness and honor, not in lustful passion. And it doesn't mean that there isn't an attraction. As a matter of fact, it would be very strange if there wasn't, a sexual connection. But lustful is treating someone like an object as opposed to a person. So he says, in holiness and honor, not in lustful passion, as do the Gentiles who do not know God. Do not take advantage of or exploit a brother or sister in this matter. John Paul II, when he was giving his Wednesday audiences, he gave his theology of the body, and he quotes Song of Songs, and he quotes Tobit, that my sister, my bride. And he says, we need to treat our spouse first as a brother or sister. And this sounds so really weird today, but it means that I honor the person and I respect them as an individual. So not as an object of my affection, but as a person made in the image and likeness of God. And I'm going to help this person get to heaven. And it's good for us to remember this, that underlying our love for spouse is this knowledge that God made them in his own image and likeness and made them for heaven. And so if you are a husband or a wife, you always need to work on your love, to fan the flames of love. But that doesn't necessarily mean erotic love. It means this highest love, this love that wants what is best for your spouse, what will help them to get to heaven. And ultimately that means what will help them be a saint. Also, let's see, what did I do with my note here? One of our parishioners is taking his first vows as a Franciscan tomorrow. Matthew Mancino, who's a great parishioner here. I was sad to see him go to the Franciscans. But tomorrow, Saturday, at 12:30 our time, 6:30 in Assisi, he is taking his first vows. We will put a link with that in the flock note. But if you've got time tomorrow at 12:30, just stop and say a prayer for Matthew and the other brothers who are making their first profession. And we'll put a link in the flock note for how you can see this online. So, God bless you.